Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Paisan Podcast. I guess call it TV version now. With the webcam here in the Murphy booth at Iona College. Martino Puccio, Gio Cozzolino here with me. Okay, so past week review in Serie A. It was one of the bigger weeks that we were talking about. In the final stretch of the season here, Atalanta and Juve play. They drew. It was the Roma derby. Lazio ended up beating Roma 3-1, I believe. Napoli took care of Inter 1-0, and then the other team in the race for Europe as well, Milan, drew to relegation zone Crotone. Past 2 weeks, they played two relegation zone teams. 1 point to come from it. Okay, so We'll start off with probably one of the more surprising ones. Surprising results was probably Lazio Roma.
Mm-hmm.
You would think the way Roma has been playing this season that they would be able to handle Lazio. I know it's a derby game, but the fact that they lost 3-1, I think kind of speaks to the position that they're in right now. Strootman just got a 2-match ban, so he's going to be missing the match against Milan.
And Juve, wow, because they faced Juve right after that too. So that's a big loss.
That's very huge. That's big time for Napoli, obviously, who's only 1 point behind Roma now, to get that second Champions League spot. Obviously, that's important because the second spot in Serie A is an automatic guaranteed qualification spot into the group stage. Also, Champions League. I think Champions League is back this week too, right?
I think it's today, but I think Real plays today, and so Juve plays
and then
tomorrow.
Juve plays tomorrow against
Let me check that.
and against Monaco.
Yeah.
Double check that, but that's also big news too. If Juve is able to get to the Champions League final and ends up winning it, that guarantees the third spot for next year's Serie A. Would mean that it's a guarantee into the group stage, which is also a huge bridge because the season after that is 4 guaranteed spots into the Champions League. So I think it's good for the league right now. It's in very good position, especially coming down on this final stretch between the second and third place teams. But we'll talk about Napoli now. Obviously, they beat Inter again. Inter, kind of funny season, obviously. We've said this. Started off very poor, then had a really good stretch of games. I think they won 7 in a row. And then
they're
back to where they were.
Basically.
And Europe looks like a pipe dream at this point. So Go ahead and your thoughts on that game.
I was at a restaurant watching this game. I was with the family at a communion, and I was like, I have to stream this anyway. I recorded it at home, but I wanted to watch it. And honestly, I don't want to say like I have no faith in my own team, as all of you guys know if you've listened to our podcast by now that I'm a Napoli fan, but I'm probably one of the most pessimistic fans that you'll ever meet because I know that our defense is basically garbage at times, and it's very hard to be confident in a defense that makes the type of mistakes Napoli does, because often more than not they beat themselves, and it's really annoying. Yep. But in this game, honestly, I was very impressed. I have to say, I made a YouTube video before reviewing the match, and that's the one focus point I had. I was very, very impressed with the defense. There were no lapses in this game, and you know what? Inter did attack for a period of time, because at one time in the game it was like 7-2 in corners in favor of Inter. They kept pushing and pushing, and I believe that was even before Napoli had a goal. And then obviously after the goal they kept pushing as well. And in the second half, when Perisic came on, that made a difference. But they were able to shut him down. Gulam finally played a game where, you know what, he didn't get caught out on the left flank. He actually was defending right and then moving forward in the right manner. Srnic was playing the past few games, and he's more of a conservative left back, and he was actually playing very well. So I was kind of worried putting Gulam back into the position. I was like, you know what? He's going to get burned by Kandreva. Something's going to happen, and they're going to score. But it didn't happen. Koulibaly was there, no mistakes. Albiol, who's even getting older, it doesn't matter. He was actually pretty solid. And then from then on, it carried out. Napoli, to be honest, not even being just a fan of the team, they should have won the game 4-0 if you look at the chances they had. Mertens missed a one-on-one with Handanovic. He was going towards a weird angle, but he hits the post anyway. He should have just lobbed it straight over. Insigne, multiple shots. Insigne didn't score a goal, and I don't think he even got the assist in this match because it was off a defensive error, Callejon's goal. But he was actually rated man of the match. I know definitely on Rai and on some other sites as well. He was incredible. It's 12 palleggios, I think is what it's called in Italian, but 12 dribbles without losing the ball. Apparently, it's one of the highest stats in the past few years.
So you mean successful dribbles?
Yeah, successful dribbles, yeah. That's how you put it. And he earned man of the match, and thank God, because the past game after the contract, he looked a little, iffy. But glad to see him back on track. But just to talk about the goal real quick, just to give you guys the summary of that, Nagatomo made a huge mistake. He went to clear the ball, or I don't know what he was doing, but he kind of like hit it back into the air backwards, and Callejon,
Such a strange
good
player.
for him too, because Callejon actually kept up with the play. You see players, the defense gets the ball, you give up on it, but he put himself into position in case something happened. Literally landed on his foot and he smashed into the side of the net, and from then on, Napoli saw it out. They could have added, like I said, more goals, but the defense really, really impressed me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things about Napoli. If they don't give up a goal, I think Juve is the only team that can beat them in this league. Obviously, you don't beat them if you don't give up a goal, but I think there's very few. That's the only team that could really draw against Napoli. Otherwise, I think you're probably going to be giving up a goal, because if Napoli isn't giving up a goal, that probably means they're on top of their game, and they probably are raining it down your throat. I mean, obviously it happens all the time. You see hit post and penalties aren't converted. Obviously there's chances all the time in the sport where you might not capitalize, but the fact is they got the one goal and they picked up the 3 points. More importantly, they picked up the 3 points in a week in which Roma lost.
Absolutely.
And you can even argue that they had bigger losses now, because they got to go to the San Siro to play Milan, and then they have to play Juve afterwards. So, I mean, they might get lucky with Juve, because Juve just drew against Atalanta. It's obvious they have the league locked up. I think that's almost a foregone conclusion at this point. And then not even that, they're just focused on Champions League, because if not, depending on who you talk to, they probably are the favorite at this point. I think it's almost everyone's picking them to beat Monaco for sure. And then Real Madrid and Atletico are probably going to be duking it out against each other. So, I mean, it's going to be a really rough final regardless. But I just want to talk about the other Milan club, obviously Milan, because third game in the Chinese era, no wins so far. Came back against Inter in that crazy derby game to tie it 2-2. A forward has not scored for Milan these past 3 games, and that's been an instrumental problem this past season. They've scored the least amount of goals for the top. Let's go here. Goals forced. Milan's got 51. So I'll read from the top. Juve's got 70, Roma 75, Napoli 78, Lazio 63, Atalanta 58, Inter 63, Fiorentina 55, Torino 64. All those teams. Out of the top 9, Milan has the least amount of goals.
Mm-hmm.
But they have one of the better defenses, so it's mind-boggling to think a player like Baca, who was scoring, he had pretty much a 50% conversion rate last year inside the box.
Yeah, he was definitely
on
impressive.
shots on target. He looks like he's on the way out, and then there's rumors that Lapadula might be on the way out too. So it's a really interesting topic of conversation, especially even Pescara. They drew against Pescara, the 3 relegation zone teams. Pescara 1 point, Empoli 0 points. They lost that. Crotone 1. So 2 points against 3 relegation zone teams should have been 9 points. I think that's just a fact. Everyone would agree with that. Especially, it doesn't matter if this isn't the Milan of old. It's still Milan.
If there's injuries,
they're
definitely
competing for
team.
Europa League. There shouldn't be any excuses. And I think it's just a testament onto how strange of a season this is. It's just really a roller coaster ride. I think there's only been 3 really consistent teams. I mean, Lazio's had a great second half of the season, but I think it really shown these past few weeks on who really is a contender for these European spots. Even though Milan isn't 6th, that's considered a third-round playoff for the Europa League. A lot of fans don't really, we were talking about this before, and if it's in their best interest to make Europa League, because that would mean they have more than 1 game a week if they were to make the group stage in the Europa League, meaning that they're not going to be playing once a week like a team like Inter. Who knows if they figure it out. It's kind of, I made an analogy that it's like Chelsea this season, how they're really only playing once a week, regardless of FA Cup, that's every team in every country is going to have their cup to play for. So I think it's really interesting to see. So wrap it up really quick. Say Roma draws against Milan. Do you see Napoli capitalizing and taking that second spot from Roma? Because it really looks like they're tripping down the final stretch. Roma.
Yeah, here. I sure hope so. And I you guys have seen plenty of times if you've seen us talking to on one of our shows. But I hate making predictions. But Napoli has Cagliari. Cagliari obviously is one of the lower teams on the table. They're 12th. and we had them at home. We had two straight road games. Sassuolo was a road game, and Inter was a road game, obviously at the San Siro. So being away for 2 games and coming back home, it's obviously a great feeling. And you know what? With the way Napoli's playing, I don't see why they shouldn't capitalize on it. Because besides last week and Sassuolo, we did draw to them 2-2, which is
That was away
terrible.
though, right?
Yeah, it was away. And I know that Mapei Stadium is hard to play at and things like that. And Sassuolo's not the same team, but we did trip up. But before that, Roma had also slipped up, and we had to beat Udinese to capitalize on them, and we did. So that gives me the belief that against a lesser team, we can capitalize. Napoli can capitalize, because at that point, it's all about mentality. Because there's no question, you know that Napoli is 10 times better than a Cagliari team. But do they have the mentality to say, you know what, let's not even think about Roma, let's get our win, then see what happens? Because I've said this in the video too that I made. That's Napoli. When they need to get a win, they kind of slip up. It's just the typical Napoli, and that stigma is not a good one. And if they ever want to contend for a Scudetto, that's what they have to snap out of. So I personally believe the way things are going, if the defense looked this good against an Inter team that has plenty of more attacking options than a Cagliari team, then the defense should be okay. And if Lorenzo Insigne and Mertens and Callejon keep producing the way they have been, I don't see why they shouldn't put multiple goals on Cagliari. So I hope so. I'm looking for the best. I'm being optimistic for once, because that's not who I am. But I feel like Milan, especially, I don't think they're down and out. Like, I don't think they're going to just sit down and get run over. I don't see that happening. So against the Roma side, even if it's at the Olimpico, no, it's at the San Siro or at the Olimpico? It's at the San Siro. I don't see why they don't want to put on a show for their home fans. They can get a result against Roma. I don't care what anyone says.
I think there's a lot to factor into that too, because this is the final stretch with new owners. So a lot of players only have a handful of games to actually prove themselves worthy. If these owners are serious and they're going to be investing in players,
these players are gone next year.
Donnarumma, a lot of guys are rumored to be on the way out. Like Deschillo, he's gone. He looks like he's gone. I mean, there's only been interest from Napoli or Juve. It looks like he's probably going Juve.
Yep.
I wrote about that on the site because I think it's just a foregone conclusion. He's going to go play for Allegri again, which he did back in Milan when he was having his better days. So it's going to be interesting to see. There's even Delefu on his line. I mean, Suso is rumored to get his contract agreement and extension this week done as well. I think there's a lot on the line for both teams, and to go in and play Milan, which they get Romagnoli back, which was a big piece that they were missing these past 2 games. I think it's huge for them. I think Roma might have some problems going into there, and I think Napoli is going to be ready to capitalize against Cagliari, and I think they will be moving on because they'll take the 3 points against them, and I think Milan and Roma have a really good chance at being a draw. So anyways, that'll wrap it up for this week. Stay tuned for the rest of the week. We're going to have more articles, videos updated regarding the Champions League and Juve's progression there and how it affects the rest of the league for next season and the seasons to come. I'm Martino Puccio, Gio Cozzolino. See you next time.